is pretty specific, so I want to get it right. You know, this month we've been studying possibilities, and we learned about believing in our dreams and the possibilities that can come from that. And then we learned how science is starting to catch up with our practice of believing and turning into physical manifestation. And we learned that peace comes from both having a dream and accepting what is. And I think that what flows through all of that and is kind of the glue that puts it all together is prayer. So today I'd like to share with you some possibilities of prayer. And the first one is making up your own prayer process. In preparation for my talk, I Googled a definition of prayer. And in 0.71 seconds, Google came up with 19,600,000 definitions of prayer. So I want to encourage you to come up with your own definition of prayer. It's probably already included in that. But if it's not, it's maybe some derivation of it. So not wanting to go through all the 19 million definitions, I turned to our co-founders, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. And Myrtle says that prayer is an exercise to change our thought habits and our living habits, that we may set up a new and better activity in accord with divine law, rather than the suggestions we have received from various sources. Can you imagine what she would think of the sources from the internet? So I'm thinking that for today, let's consider prayer to be a chat with God. And it's a chat we come to as if we were going to go hang out in a coffee shop or a deli or a restaurant with our best friend. It's safe to be who and what we are in the moment. And so to begin this chat, to begin this prayer, maybe an activity is turning off your phone. Maybe an activity is telling Facebook, well, I don't really like these kind of posts, so don't show them to me anymore. So that what you do is you bring yourself present to the presence. Now, Myrtle also says that we are to cease worrying and being anxious and thinking and speaking of the past and the apparent lack and idleness. We are to concentrate all our attention upon the truth of God and the truth of our own being, upon the very things we would see taking place in our lives. And that's something that both Charles and Myrtle Fillmore do, is emphasize the relationship between what we think and keeping that in alignment with the truth of God. So prayer then is to change our minds and hearts so that God's omnipresent goodwill may fill our minds and hearts and manifest in our lives. And if we do not keep on thinking in accord with the prayers we have made, we do not get good results. That's a pretty good fact check right there. For all thought is formative, all thought has its effect in our lives. And then in the revealing word, Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, says that prayer is a communion between God and man. And this communion takes place in the innermost part of man's being. And he also talks of the importance of thoughts that align with divine mind, and says that prayer steps up the mental action until one's consciousness synchronizes with Christ's mind. Prayer is the language of spirituality, and when developed, it makes one a master in the realm of creative ideas. So what I want to invite you to do is explore the possibility of creating your own prayer process. And first, think of any place that you may be as an opportunity to have a chat with God. From personal experience, this very morning, your car can be a place to have a conversation with God. When you're stuck in traffic and you want to get to church early enough to be calm and poised to be speaker. Another place that you can have a chat with God, which is part of the beauty of the God relationship, is in the bathroom. All by yourself. A lot of times that's the only place we get a break from giving our attention other places, from listening to other people. Meister Eckhart, New Thought teacher and originator, says that if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, God, then that's enough. And maybe that's what your prayer practice is going to be. For me, a prayer that I go to no matter what is really taking me away from my presence, especially when there's a lot of chaos going on in the world and a lot of media that's wanting my attention to be there. I'll automatically turn if my heart is really breaking and I can't quite remember all the words to the prayer for protection, I can always remember wherever this is, God is, and all is well. So I want to invite you to have a prayer that may be your go-to comfort. And the last thing in bringing up in creating your own prayer process that I want to suggest is have a little prayer. That's how you begin and end your day, that you've created just for you and God to have as your conversation with each other. For me, and I've been doing this for maybe about 10 years now, it is, thank you for this day, God. Thank you for my life. Thank you for every day of my life to come. And I say that every morning when I get up and every night before I go to bed. And it makes me feel like I'm in connection with the presence. So maybe have a little just 3-line prayer that's your way of beginning and ending your day. Now another possibility for a prayer process is to adapt a structured form of prayer process. And one of the things that I've always loved about Unity is their prayer process. And one of the things I most love about it is the very first step of the Unity prayer process, which sounds very formidable, is relaxation. It invites you to breathe deeply and focus within, become willing to know a truth that frees you from all concerns. One of the things that's so beautiful about that is that it's telling you that you don't have to rely on someone else to give you the connection to the presence that's going to in some way change something outside to be what you think it should be. Rather than to just relax and allow your breath to take you to the place where you're freed from all concerns. The second step is concentration. And what they mean by this isn't to necessarily cross our eyes trying to see or believe something so hard, but rather to recognize that the power of God as life, love, wisdom, and everlasting good is a presence that's within you. And the how-to for doing this that Unity Worldwide suggests is to center your thoughts on the ever-present energy of God in your life. And you might want to inhale, God is, and then exhale, I am. So inhale, God is, exhale, I am. Now the third step of this formal prayer process is meditation. And what they mean by this is a silent reflection. To see that the power of God is the same power within you and your divine potential. So as Karen sang in the song, in the silence, experience the power of your own divinity, knowing you share all the attributes of God, such as love, strength, wisdom, beauty. Now the fourth step is realization. And this is to know that you have the power to be, to do, to have, and to allow the good that you desire. One of my favorite Charles Fillmore quotes comes from the book Teach Us to Pray. And this is a book that was written by he and Cora Fillmore. Charles Fillmore says, "We have been so persistently taught that prayer consists in asking God for some human need that we have lost sight of our spiritual identity and have become a race of praying beggars." So there's no need to get down on your knees. There's no need to bow your head. There's no need to feel humble. There's no need to feel less than a deity outside of you that's created a circumstance that you have to focus on how brokenhearted you are, and then to pray to this outside deity, maybe even through another entity or person, to get it resolved. What Unity and what the Fillmores want us to do is to know that we have the power to be, to do, and to have, and to allow the good we desire. The last step in the Unity 5-step prayer process is appreciation, and to feel grateful for your growing spiritual awareness. Know that you are empowered to live fully now and into a fulfilling future. And Unity suggests that you empower your life with every expression of gratitude. So that can go beyond words, that can go into gestures, that can go into presence, that can go into taking yourself out for a treat. I've printed a handout of the Unity 5-step prayer process. So if you're interested in taking this home with you, it's right on the table in the back. Now, the third possibility for prayer practice and prayer beliefs, and for kind of upping your conversations with God, is to explore the possibility of living answered prayer. First of all, is to see yourself as an answered prayer from God. That God is answering His own prayer, that God is answering your prayers as you. And one of the ways you might start seeing this is when you start looking at your life experiences. That thing that you didn't want to happen that turned out exactly the way you thought it would be when it was going to be at its absolute worst. Underneath all the muck of that may be a token of gold, some little gift for you. Start noticing that as you are more and more chatting with God and saying, I need you to open up some traffic here. Oh, I'm so stressed because I have this appointment. Maybe a little pocket in the lane next to you opens up and you can get into that and go down a side street or something opens up. Start noticing how living your life as you actually is an answered prayer. Now also, answered prayer from God can come to us through our body wisdom. That ache, that pain in that place that's been going on for so long, if we give it some loving attention, it may have a memory to share with us. And that memory may bring up a type of trauma or a type of a situation that wants to get some healing. And maybe we'll be guided to have someone who can help us go through this with God as our guide. And all of a sudden there's no pain. Or it may be something in our gut that's gnawing at us and telling us, I really want to do this. And gives us the strength to say no. So listen to your body, listen to what it may be trying to tell you, what sort of gifts may be buried underneath the skin that we carry along. Another way of life as answered prayer is having an awareness that without knowing how, you may be answered prayer for someone else. You being there with the smile, you being there with the napkin, you being there, simply sitting there, even when they're crying and not walking away and going, there's something that's going on here. You may be the one who makes a difference in being answered prayer for this person. So ways to up your chats with God to the next level and to increase your awareness of the possibilities of prayer is to maybe take the handout on the 5 steps of the unity prayer process and try it. Try it during the week. See what it does to your own prayer practices. Try praying with a prayer partner. See how the language that they use is something maybe you want to start including in how you do your prayers. See what difference it makes in whatever situation you go to them to talk about. And then I would really like to, if you haven't at all ever, call Silent Unity. Just call them with anything that's on your mind and listen to the beauty of the words they use in their prayers. Every prayer is like, or every prayer that I received at least, is like a form of poetry. The languaging is beautiful. And even if the result that you're praying for that you want, and you really want them to say, you're going to get this job and it's going to turn out just absolutely perfect, that's not what they say. They talk about highest and best, and they talk about surrendering to God, but they do it so nicely and gently that it's easier to go along with it and accept when things turn out the way they turn out. So also on that handout is the phone number for Silent Unity, and I encourage you to use it. Now another way to up your awareness of prayer would be to come to the class that we're going to be having after service today on Mara Fillmore's healing letters. All of her healing was done through prayer work, affirmative prayer process. And we'll be learning a lot of the languaging she used on a lot of different specific areas of life. You can imagine the kind of prayer requests that come into Silent Unity. They're on everything. So we'll be exploring prayer and different prayers for different aspects or concerns in our lives. And then last, stay involved in your spiritual community. It's so nice to have someone who understands or speaks the same language that you do. And unity, in a way, is its own language. New thought, in its way, is its own language. So feel free to keep joining us here in person, or thanks to our live streamers who come via Facebook, or check out our website and the videos there. It's a way to keep your consciousness focused on this divine truth, this consciousness of Christ that we know lives within us. I want to thank you for allowing me to explore possibilities of prayer with you, and I would love to hear what sort of new possibilities of being